Welcome to the Sports Hit List, 4 o'clock pull-up. Carl Coulange here by the fans and for the fans. Let me introduce my panel. Coach Walmack with another background of keeping people guessing over here, man. What's going on?
I got the glow today, man. I just feel it. I got the glow. I felt the glow from the morning, from when I woke up. Happy to be here. Happy to get it going, man.
The pastor, Mr. Mike Miller. How you doing, sir?
Yo, what's up, my brother? Always excited to be with the fellas to talk basketball.
We have Jordan Eugene's in the building. Jordan, how you doing, sir?
Doing well. Today's a good day, nice day outside. Nice day for the Rockets to lose their 13th straight.
Are you chasing that draft pick now? Is that what it's about?
I'm chasing the draft pick. I'm ready for the draft pick.
But let's start today with something that was sparking some news yesterday. Coach, I know this is probably down your alley. Creighton's basketball.
Oh man, I know where you're going, man.
You know I had to go here, man. There's no way we on the hit list we can't talk about. There's no topic that we don't address and we don't talk about. So I had to bring it to the front of the congregation.
Don't scratch your head now, Mac. We need you on this one.
So for those who don't know, Creighton's basketball coach tells players to stay on the plantation, and he still has his job right now. So basically, Greg McDermott, he was in the huddle or after a game. He says, guys, we have to stick together. We need both feet in. I need everyone to stay on the plantation. I can't have anybody leave the plantation. Those were quote verbatim of what he said. This sparked some controversy. He immediately apologized, but the players have been in favor of him staying and keeping his job so they can continue the season and going into the tournament. So, Coach, let me start with you. What are your thoughts when you first heard this happen? Is it safe to say that it's all right to call for his job? Someone of his age and knowledge of this country's history should be using that kind of language, especially given minorities on his basketball team.
Wow. So I found out about these comments actually through one of his assistant coaches who I follow on Twitter. And he posted a statement, pretty much saying that he's known, Doug McDermott for some time. And, obviously he said the same thing a lot of people usually say in this situation. He's not racist, blah, 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 that. And he said that, right now I'm focused on helping our young men out because they're at a time right now where they're a little confused. But, I do have a problem with what Coach said, and I do have to address it with Coach. I'm kind of stuck in the middle. And I think, some people are going to, say, how can you be stuck in the middle? But I think you have to be honest with yourself when you don't have a clear vision of what's going on. And I don't have a clear vision of what's going on. So I've been teetering both sides, I'm not sure if losing his job is the move, but something has to be done and something more than just an apology and moving forward. I think language matters. And I always tell people that what you say matters. It holds a lasting imprint, and what we do after will affect what goes on in the future. And I'm going to say something that's going to shock a lot of people. Sometimes the Black community, people can get away with saying anything about us, and then nothing happens. I say this to point out, and I'm not trying to chose people to pick sides, but I told somebody this once. The trans community, the LGBTQ community, they stick together. If someone in this age and generation says something about them on that scale, they would have been fired yesterday.
Yes.
If someone said, I can't have a bunch of FAGGOTSs rebounding for me, you guys got to be men, he would have been fired last night for bringing down the LGBTQ gay community. But because he said something about the Black community, we're expected to just say, okay, you said I'm sorry, and let's move on. You didn't mean it because of what you did before. But if it's another community, he would have been done. So my problem is that sometimes, even though I don't think he meant it that way, I don't think he's a racist person from people that I know. I don't think he has ill will towards African Americans or Blacks, but what he said was very hurtful. And if we don't address it, we're gonna allow it to continue, and people can get away with it going forward. So that's where
Coach,
I'm at
are
right
you
now.
calling that people advocate for his firing? Is that the safe question to say? Or
what I call for people advocating for him to be fired is the same thing as, like, have I in my life personally said something that could have been taken the wrong way? Yes. I don't necessarily think that this situation means firing. I think this situation for me is, we need you to just don't hide from this. Step up. You got to go through some kind of training courses. You gotta have courses with your team. You got to have coach. You have to be at the forefront of this. I don't know if firing him for saying this is a fireable offense. I'm not sure about that yet, because then it's a slippery slope. It's like anytime someone says something, that gets someone else's, upset or anything like that, they could be fired immediately. I think it's a learning example so that it doesn't continue, from now on. But I think he should, sensitivity training is something he should go through, but he should also have to make a statement, like not an email. Like he should have a press conference where he literally sits down and he has to answer. Why did you, because we need to understand, Carl, like, I don't know why he said it. Like that what he said didn't come off to me. I don't know. Why would you think plantation was a good word to say? Like how, and then from his reaction to that, then it'll let me know if, for me personally, if this guy's just beating around the bush or he honestly, said something, that just came to his mind. But I still want to know what does plantation have to do with the team that you have? Like, I just don't get it.
Jordan, what are your thoughts here? What do you think?
So 2 years ago, when Russell Westbrook was still on the Thunder, one of the commentators said that Westbrook was out of his cotton picking mind. And that just brings me back to that, where it's just like, eventually, like, punishment, like, this has to, at this point, it's kind of getting old, where it's like, you know what, we have to show them that something has to change and you are going to lose your job over it. Do I think he deserves to lose his job over it? Sure. Because I think that at that point, you have to be this educated. We're in 2021. You have to understand that kind of language is really not acceptable anymore when you're talking about we need everybody on the plantation. Like, you use it out of all words. You could have said in the company. You could have said, in this business with this team. You could have said anything, and you picked plantation with Black basketball players on your team. Personally, I think that, yes, his job should be in danger, because you need to set a precedent. Because like Coach said, like most people that are in the LGBTQIA plus community, what happens is that, like, if you say something along those lines that is very offensive today to them, like, they will lose their job, or some type of punishment will happen to somebody who offends them and uses slurs against them. So I think that for this, in order for stuff to change, you need to show punishment. I think punishment is genuinely the best way for someone to change, some type of, like, reaction or some type of thing that makes sure that somebody actually becomes
Doesn't
different.
do it again.
Doesn't do it again.
I agree.
I agree. Sometimes, like, should he lose his job? I mean, some people might not think so. I think so, because we really want change at this point. All four of us, we're all Black in here. We all want change. And I think the best way for change is a little bit of, like, you got to go through a little bit of punishment in order for you to truly understand, the depth of what you're saying. Because him just getting away with it and him just being like, oh, well, I apologize and I'll never use that language again and blah, 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 blah. Does that really teach him anything? He needs to lose his job. Well, I think genuinely him losing his job would actually be him learning something. You know what I mean? So.
Mike, can you turn your mic on for me? Is it possible so we can hear you?
Yeah, you get me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. What are your thoughts
on
what
I agree with everyone, and I land. Really, I do land on Jordan's point. No, it's a fireable offense. Because of what Max said, it's unacceptable. Certain things you say can cost your job. All of us work. We understand that there are trigger words that if we say them, we lose our job. There's no statement of I'm sorry. You can say I'm sorry as you go pick up your last check. There is no so I agree that because we've let, like Max said, too much stuff has been able to slide, and the disrespect that we have had to endure for 401 years, no, heads got to roll. Now, this is a different example, different extreme, but when we're always complaining about police brutality, we're not just talking about, oh, well, you get a charge. No, or you get paid lead off. No, you lose your job. Now, again, it's an extreme, but the point is you need repercussions for your actions.
And I agree, but this is where we have to understand, because you heard what I said. Like, I just think that You know, we're one of the most disrespected groups. So, but the reason why I held off on the straight firing him is because then we have to understand this has to happen in every sense, then on every level. Like whenever you degrade anyone on any level, it's a fireable offense. And we need to make that understood, because what I don't want is because Greg McDermott is a person in high profile, he gets fired. No, if you say something about a black person or a Chinese person or Asian person or even a white person, if you come at someone's nationality, if you say a racist remark, it's a fireable offense on every level. Like, I just don't want it to be Greg McDermott, because I feel like
that's what I'm saying. That's what would get this is sort of what Jordan's basically saying. This firing gets the ball rolling for that precedent. Disrespect at some disrespect at some point can't be tolerated.
But guys, let me ask this, Mike. Sorry to cut you off. Let me ask this, but the play. It's according to the article, the players are in favor of keeping him I
don't want to hear that, because wait, Mike. Some people who are in abusive relationships, men and women, they can have a domestic violence dispute. They can almost get. I've seen women almost get killed to the point where they're bloodied and killed, and still say, "I don't want to press charges." Does that mean that the man didn't do anything wrong, or he shouldn't go to jail for domestic violence? No. So these players are in a tough situation. They want to finish their season. So they're not, I don't even think they understand what he really said. I don't think it's really hit them what he really was referring to. I think in the moment, they just thought, oh, we got to win this game. But if they really go back and sit down for an hour and understand exactly what he said, I don't think they would just be like, you know what, it's cool, let's just play basketball. So, and plus they're 18, 19 years old. This guy recruited them. He brought them to school. He's been like a father figure probably, you know, while they're on campus, because they're not next to their parents or their mothers and fathers while they're on campus. So it's a different type of relationship. So of course they're gonna, you know, fight behind him and say, you know, you don't know the person that we know. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we don't have to know the person that you know. We know what he did. You know?
At this point, and I think Jordan touched upon it, in 2021 and everything that's happened over the last year in this country, I'm curious to know what was going, and I guess none of us could really answer it. We could always just ponder what was going through his mind to him to actually get to that point where he said that.
The question, the way I looked at it, Carl, when you sent it to me, because I didn't know about it. When you sent it to me, I started to just think for a second. I said, okay, the sun is on my Pacers. So I've tried to see if Doug McDermott made a comment. Haven't seen a comment from him yet about what his dad said. But I started to ask, to that question of why did he say it, I started to ask, who is he? Like, who is Greg McDermott? Where's he from? So he's from North Dakota. He coached in Ames, Iowa. Most of the places that he's lived have been almost 90% predominantly white communities. Well, what's the history of America in predominantly white communities? This type of language a lot of times is acceptable. So again, everybody that knows him will rush to say, well, he's not racist. It just made a very racist statement. But you have to start, but that's what I think that was to Mac's point of, I need to hear him say why that came to his mind. Why, not preparing a statement and saying, well, I'll learn from this. Well, I need somebody, preferably someone black, to ask you, and I need you to answer it and explain why, like Jordan said, of all the things that you could have used to describe, you chose plantation as you stood before black men. So I need to know why, and that'll, to some degree, get to that answer.
Carl, and let me clarify this. When I say I don't want him, I don't think he should be fired, what I really meant is I don't think he should be fired like right this minute, because I want him to have to answer to that question. See, if you get fired right now, you can disappear and never have to answer. And then people can say, oh, we don't know if we should have fired him. Maybe we let him off the hook, you know, or what did he really mean? No, I want him to answer, tell us what he was thinking, why he was thinking it, and have to answer to the world for what he said. And then after that, the administration should then have a meeting and say, we can't allow this. We can't tolerate this. We have to move on. I just don't want him to disappear today and we never get his thoughts on the situation.
I ain't gonna lie, Mac. To your examples, there's certain things you say, the bosses don't want to hear an explanation. Nope. You get fired. There's not going to be a time for you to explain what you really meant, it was taken out of context. Look at what my
No,
happened
but
to my man
everybody,
Nick
hold
Cannon.
on, but everybody gets. Nick Cannon had a conversation. See, everybody,
Yeah.
you get a you get a conversation, then you get fired. Like Nick,
No,
you get
the first thing happened. He got the blowback. Then they started to get the conversation. Now 7 months later, they trying to give him his job back. They got him up out of there. Nick tried to explain, "Oh well, I didn't mean it in this context." They said, "Playboy, that offends
Exactly.
too many people. You out of
and
here."
that's exactly what I'm trying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I want. Like I don't want it. I don't want it to be a situation where it's like, oh, the University of Creighton has let go Greg McDermott because X, Y, Z, and then 6 months from now he's gonna have another college job. That's just the facts of the matter. I'm just telling y'all where we live at. He's gonna have another job. Period. He's gonna get another job after he gets fired. So what I'm trying to say is I want this to be out in the open right now. And Creighton, you have to let us know why you're firing him. Let us know that what he said was offensive to all the people in America, all the people in the world, and then let him go. Don't just, what they'll try and do now is let him go. Kind of like, you know, how politicians, when they get caught, they just resign and we never got to hear why they resigned. They never have to take full accountability for what they did. They just get to sneak out there and just sneak out the back door. I don't want to sneak out the back door. I want him to talk, answer, understand, and then you lost your job because you did X, Y, Z. Good luck with your future. And we'll see where you get down the road.
Jordan, final thoughts. Do you have potentially a reason of why he said what he said? Is there any justification? I mean, I know you
there is
for him, but
there truly is no justification in my mind. I mean, I wouldn't be around somebody from a different background and use something offensive towards them in that kind of manner. Like plantation, like really, like you're talking to a basketball team, and of all things, you could say plantation. That Oklahoma City commentator from 2 years ago when Westbrook was having a great game, right? And he says that Westbrook's out of his cotton picking mind. Out of everything, he's out of. You could just simply say he's out of his mind, but you take the extra and you say cotton picking. Like it's obviously you picked those words. You knew, like you might not have genuinely known, but you're gonna learn. And how you're gonna learn is you're gonna lose your job. That's how you're gonna learn. If you didn't know at this point, we're in 2021. We've gone through everything we've gone through. We were in 2019. We went through Trayvon Martin, all that crap that we had to go through with Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and everything. And you're telling me that you still don't know? You still don't know. That's ridiculous. So absolutely, I have no explanation for the use of that word. That's absolutely pathetic. You're how old is McDermott?
57.
How 57. He's 57 years old. You can't think of any other word besides plantation? No, there's no explanation for that. There's no excuse.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys. So on a positive note, there's been something in the hitless streets going on about fans who watch the game, who don't watch the game and highlights, and who just know who just look at stats, who just look at the box score fans, the ones who don't play. And I think it was Ray Rodriguez who asked the question, could you have a conversation with someone who didn't play sports about sports? So today, part of the show I want to talk about is, you know, that whole notion of fans who look at the box scores and highlights and they make judgments and assessments versus the fans who say they watch the entire games and make assessments. This whole conversation started because Paul and Andres believe that Rudy Gobert is better than Donovan Mitchell and is the MVP on the Utah Jazz. And that's what started the conversation. And that's what started the conversation. But my issue with this is that fans who do look at the box scores and all into analytics, don't you kind of have to look at the analytics to make a judgment call as opposed to watching the game? That's not an eye test. That's an analytics. So you calling people box office fan, box score fans, isn't that kind of contradicting yourself because you kind of have to look at your advanced stats on a piece of paper to make an assessment?
Wait, hold on. The people who check the box scores tried to call other people box scores fans?
Basically, what they're saying is that analytics guys, Andres is saying,
analytics.
Okay, so I'm going to call him out. Andres believes that, people don't watch enough games. Yeah, he's saying we don't watch enough games to assess that, Gobert is better than Donovan Mitchell. But
see, I would argue the reverse. I would say those who would actually say that don't actually watch the games. They check stats.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though. But Andres is an analytics guy, so that's why I'm confused. Is when you're calling out box score fans and analytics, and even Paul did it too because he listed a list of analytics of why Gobert is better. Don't you kind of have to look at those analytics to make that judgment?
No,
the eye test. That's my issue.
You have to look at the game first and then allow the analytics to assist.
Help your point.
Comes first. If you are looking at analytics first and then the game, that is your problem. That's how you end up saying Rudy Gobert is better than Donovan Mitchell, because you look at analytics all day, then watch the game. You're not supposed to do that. Analytics were just to help assist how we understand basketball.
So based off what they said about, again, they're basically saying, I think Damian Lillard said it as well, is that they're tired of box score fans and fans who just watch highlights who basically assess sports. So that's why I wanted to talk about this whole conversation, and even to tying in people who never played sports, having conversations about sports, believing that they know about sports. Coach, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you got to watch the game, man. Like what people, I learned this from coaching about when I used to check the plus minus. You know, we used to, we'll get a stat sheet, 16 minutes in the first media timeout, get it 12 minutes at the next media timeout, and we'll go, oh, this person's plus. Someone will say, oh, his plus is 5, his plus is 6, his plus is -6. And I'm like, well, who was he on the court with? Because that determines what your plus minus is also. It's the rotations. Like if you put 4 bench players on the court with 1 starter who's maybe the 3rd best effective starter, and you rate his plus minus against the 4 starters who have 1 bench person, and you say, oh, his plus minus for the game was -3. Well, who was he playing with for 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the basketball game? So it's like Mike said, you got to watch the game and be assisted by the numbers, and then it's like an equation. Game is 10 plus numbers is 5 equals 15. And that's how we get to 15. You know, use the equation properly. Don't just, go look at the numbers and say, oh, he's the best player because his PER is better, his efficiency rating is better, and his plus minus is better. Well, why? How are they playing? Maybe it's geared. Maybe the whole strategy is around this one person. You know, if we're talking about this situation in particular, Rudy Gobert can't create any. I mean, defensively, yes, he's one of the best defensive players. But let's be honest, you got to be able to score points as well. He couldn't create a shot one-on-one against anyone. Everything comes from what someone else does. So it's crazy for anyone to say he's a better player. He's more important to the Jazz than Donovan Mitchell. No, I think you can't say that, and you can't just show me numbers, because then I'll say, hey, you down by 3, down by 2. You need a bucket to tie the game, to even go back on defense. How can you do that without Donovan Mitchell? Or can you do that without Rudy Gobert? Centers, I mean, we all watch the game here. I mean, Mike, Jordan, Carl, we watched the game. We've seen the Clint Capellas come and go. We've seen the Birdmans in Miami serve their purpose. We've seen the who else we got the defense? We've seen DeAndre Jordan make millions of dollars off of rebounds and alley-oop dunks in defense. We've seen those come and go. None of those people have been the pillars of a franchise. None of them. I've never seen a pillar of a franchise just be 2-dimensional. Defense and a couple alley-oops. I haven't seen.
You know what, Coach? But I would say though, I would think Gobert is a little bit better than the centers that you listed. I mean, if we're gonna be serious, I think
he better than Ben Wallace? Is he better than?
He's not Ben Wallace.
He's a 2-time defensive player of the year, though. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to sell him short. I know, but Gobert's still playing though. He's not done yet, Mike. So
is he Wallace? Is he better than Ben Wallace?
He's still playing in his prime. I'm not going to say that just yet, but you could put him up there. I wouldn't compare him to Anderson or
not an Anderson.
Yeah.
I'll compare him to DeAndre. I mean, DeAndre Jordan didn't get defensive play, but in his prime, DeAndre Jordan and Gobert was a little, maybe Gobert a little bit more. A slight.
Ben Wallace. He's Ben Wallace. He serves a very good purpose. But you see, Ben Wallace was there with the Pistons for many, many years. But what happens when Mr. Big Shot shows up? Things are a little different.
The other thing that was kind of in that conversation too is that according to Greg, he said Paul said that Jordan Clarkson's statistically been having a better season than Donovan Mitchell. So that was
averaging 18 points a game, and they're talking about percentage. This is what I'm saying. We have to actually know basketball if we're going to have these discussions. We can't do that. We cannot just look at stats. Matt just told you. I bet you I could go to the PER right now.
Okay. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on that notion of box score fans and fans who only watch highlights, who don't watch the games, and then the analytical fans and just assessing and breaking down the game?
Oh, they listen, they expose themselves very easily. You just listen to this conversation where somebody's trying to make an argument that Rudy Gobert is better and more important than Donovan Mitchell on Utah. That is the example of the fans who listen. I used to do it at times when I was in high school. I would go to school every morning. I would go on a computer in the library and I would just look up stats all day. I would look at Reggie's stats. I would look at AI stats. And then I'd go downstairs and go debate all my friends who liked AI, who liked Ray Allen. You have to actually look at the games, because then when you watch the games, you'll start to see things that, wait a minute, these stats don't really understand. Like Mac said, Mac gave a beautiful example. You see, he's got a high field goal percentage. He's got a high PER. Well, how? Well, PER leans more towards people who have more rebounds because they're big, like, for example, Jokic, and higher percentages because they get all their points at the basket. But see, you're not going to know that because the PER stats not going to tell you that. You have to watch the actual games. So the problem with the box score fans is they may peek at the games and peek at the highlights, but then they go right on the computer and they click really fast and they see all the stats and they say, oh, this stat is this stat and this stat means this stat. And if I put those stats together in this puzzle, then this puzzle means that, and this is why we're all beginning to hate the analytical people, because it's revenge of the nerds. They're coming in, not knowing basketball, and trying to infuse these nerdy things to just actually watching and saying, wait, well, if these guys have the same numbers, but they play totally different and their effect on the team is totally different. And you would only know that if you watch the games. So I agree, too often we got a lot of people just Googling stats and then coming and trying to debate arguments and never have watched the games.
Jordan, what are your thoughts here when we discuss box score fans and fans who watch the game? And you and I are in the group with Andres. So shout out to him. He couldn't make it, unfortunately. He had to work. But what are your thoughts with this conversation?
Personally, I know Andres, and I know Andres isn't somebody who's just looking at analytics. I think he is somebody that watches I know he's somebody who watches the games,
he watches games.
And then
sure.
adds analytics to prove a point. You know, it's not like, and even if, like, it doesn't really matter, even present day, we're talking past games as well. Like, we're talking like before he was even born, you know, and he's watching these games and he knows what he's talking about. But I genuinely think, I also agree that
he said Middleton was a bum. He's on drugs. He said Middleton was a bum.
He also said, and you know, right now we're having that debate about Westbrook versus Jason Kidd, which is another conversation for another day.
Who, you think Jason Kidd is better?
No, we think Jason Kidd is better.
Who?
We do.
Then who?
Then Russell Westbrook.
Keep going.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
No, but I definitely agree that you have to watch the game. I genuinely think you should watch the game first and then look at the analytics to help your case, you know, rather than just, you know, rely heavily on just one or the other. You know, I think that even though it's better to rely more on the game than just analytics alone, I think it's a good mix to have mostly game, like you watch the games and then you use a sprinkle of analytics. It's kind of like your cherry on top or sprinkles on top of ice cream, you know, that kind of stuff.
So what are our thoughts to close out this discussion about people like me who've never played basketball or professionally, and then they're talking about sports? I think that was something that was trending in the group too, as well as, you know, could you have a conversation with, and I know Mac was trolling a little bit with his comments on it, but could you have a conversation about sports with someone who necessarily hasn't played sports? And people like to use that example. It's like talking to somebody about marriage who's not married. Like, is that a fair assessment here, there too? Mike, what are your thoughts there?
Bad example. I would ask all those people, could you have a conversation with Sam Presti, the GM of OKC? Because he didn't play. So I think you could. And I think he'd wrap circles around the knowledge you think you have. So no, absolutely. If you study something, then you have knowledge in it. That you don't necessarily have to play. Now somebody's going to say, well, if you just study medicine, that doesn't necessarily mean you can perform a surgery. Well, that's the starting point of performing a surgery. They go to school and then they study and then they become surgeons. So no, absolutely. If you commit yourself to studying and learning about basketball and watching the games, letting analytics influence you, yes, you can absolutely have a great conversation with someone about basketball. Because if we couldn't, then in all actuality, nobody on the sports hit list can talk to Mac, because we've all kind of sort of played. He's a professional that was an MVP. So nobody in the sports hit list group, none of them can talk to him, because it's a different level. If we want to play those games, then we got to do by ranking now. So we got to say,
yeah, I don't like those games.
Only can talk to dudes that played at high school. The dudes that played in college,
I can't talk to anybody. I played CYO.
See, that's why I don't like
this
that.
is
That's
the
why I don't
point.
like
That's
those
why
rules,
it's
Carl.
nonsense.
I don't like those rules, Carl.
I only played CYO. Hey, I can't talk to somebody.
Carl, that's my point. So if we play this game, then nobody is allowed to talk to Mac, because far as I know in the group, nobody has anywhere near his credentials. So nobody's allowed to talk to him. But Mac respects and understands our knowledge base.
Well,
and anybody can develop that.
Also, because I've hang around enough professional coaches in the NBA, general managers, and NBA players who respect my knowledge of the game, and I never played in the NBA. So that's why I feel that it always trickles down to the more knowledgeable and the more you put into understanding the craft, the more respect you get from me. So the perfect analogy I put is that I went to school for political science, but I've never worked in the government. I never worked in the Senate. I've never worked in the mayor's office. But I went and studied poli-sci. So if I'm given the opportunity to work in those areas, I have the knowledge, and then I can get the experience, and then I will be able to contribute in that area. You don't have to play the game of basketball to understand the game. You may not get a certain feel because you've never been on the court, but some of the best coaches never played. And some of the best coaches were bums playing. Somebody put that in there. So the level of how you play doesn't matter. But here's the thing. Sometimes ball players have a lingo, a talk that they may say that you may not be able to get, because on the court talk is different from your traditional NBA understanding of what happens in the game, the history of the game, the science of offense, defense, all those different things. But if you didn't play and the game, you watch the game, you breathe the game, you have just as much to contribute to this conversation as the best player in the history of the NBA. And we see that. Look at the general managers. Some of the best players don't know how to build a team or can't build a team. And
you don't want to say his name.
Say his name. I'll say his name. We talk about MJ. We talk about MJ.
Not just MJ.
We talk about MJ.
Isaiah Thomas was a little shaky, baby. He was all right.
He was a good drafter. Listen.
He's a good drafter.
Yeah, he wasn't bad drafter. Yeah, he wasn't that bad as a drafter. He drafted team that. Yeah.
I mean, people get good draft. Jordan drafted LaMelo. And LaMelo's looking.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on.
Their clock is right twice a day. That's true.
Yeah, but some of the best players, they can't see it clearly. I know some players. I've known coaches who were very good in college, and they think every player is supposed to play just like them or see the game just like them. So they don't understand the different levels of how you have to teach to people who don't understand the game or see the game at your level in order to bring them up. So long story short, you don't have to play a day in your life to be able to contribute to basketball talk. Just don't be a bozo and start coming out with some crazy takes out of nowhere and you can't back it up. As long as you can back it up, keep it going, man. Let's keep the conversation going.
Jordan, what are your thoughts here about fans who never played who believe they know what they're talking about? Or people like to say,
when it comes to individual players, their personal experience playing the game, then obviously they're not going to know anything about that. I mean, you could talk about because players, for the most part, they go through a lot of what just normal human beings go through. They sleep, they go to the bathroom, they breathe air, they drink water. But I think there's some aspects they might be overtired, they might be really exhausted, or there's some personal things that a player might go through that some people might not understand necessarily. But when you're speaking the sport, I mean, it doesn't matter. I genuinely think it doesn't matter. If you truly know the game and you educate yourself of the game, you can speak on it no matter how. Carl, I look at you. You said you've only played CYO. You know the game better than a lot of people I know. Andres, I don't know if he's played basketball. Andres is probably the most knowledgeable person I know in the game. Mike, I don't know what Mike's level of basketball is. Coach actually played basketball, but anybody that's who has or hasn't played the game, I think it doesn't really matter. You could still be educated on the same stuff, besides personal. besides the personal aspect, I think there's other things that definitely any other person like me or Andres or you, Carl, who can also understand the game.
But Mike said it best too. This conversation cannot be in the sports hit list because, like he said, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but nobody.
It's just the facts.
No,
yeah,
I'm the
right.
only
no,
person who played at the highest level, and you know I don't care about that. Like I definitely don't care about that. So if I'm not saying anything, and this is just to be right, I don't think nobody should be saying anything. Like I love the conversations. I think some people actually bring things up that I don't even think about, and it makes me go back and research and watch some games and get back on my game. And so it really doesn't matter to me, man. Just I think it's great that we have people who never played, who love the game and love it so much that they want to be a part of it. I think that's amazing, and if more people did that with things that they're not comfortable with, we'll have a lot more of our friends knowledgeable on different things. We're always so scared to take a jump into something that we aren't professionals at, and we don't understand that we can become, great if we just study it. So, I love it. Keep it going.
Mike, real quick before we jump into All-Star talk, did you want to talk about the Westbrook Kidd debate or no? Because people are saying you said Mike Bibby's better than Jason Kidd, so they're not taking you seriously.
So this is crazy that we think these are like the same. The difference between Mike Bibby on Sacramento and Jason Kidd versus Russell Westbrook that has done things that have. Oh God. I know I can't, bro. I can't. Nope. Can't do it. Can't do it. Nope. Can't do it. Not gonna get stressed. Can't do it. I'm not doing that.
Coach,
I'm not
do you want to dabble just a little bit?
That is
Kidd
that
versus
is so
Westbrook.
disrespectful to Russell Westbrook. Like Jason Kidd, we have a different people have an affinity for Jason Kidd. But if you step back from your affinity for Jason Kidd and you look at what Russell Westbrook has done as an NBA basketball player,
if you want to say better all around, not even all around. If you want to say,
Coach, we can't see you, man. You got to you have that light back on if you can't.
Better leader, sure.
Nah, can you see me now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're better now. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say if you want to say a better point guard to put in a mix to get a team to rise to its highest expectations, which is a lot to say.
That's really specific. That's really specific.
But that's
all the qualifiers. See, that answers the question right there, Coach.
Because if you just go like straight, like if you just go straight to game, like what Westbrook did was damn near, excuse my language, amazing. Like he did some stuff that I don't care if you say was selfish or not. He did some things that is out of this world.
Okay, so the question they're saying, the question was who was better all time. That was the question.
That's still a stupid question.
Mike, I don't like to say people have stupid questions. As a teacher, I can't say that someone has stupid questions.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be saying it as a pastor. My wife yells at me all the time. Stop saying stupid.
Yes.
Listen, this kind of question, this is the hate for Russell Westbrook, that we're actually comparing Jason Kidd's career. You could do statistics, could do whatever, to Russell Westbrook, who is going to be a historic player. Jason Kidd's not a historic player. He's one of the great players in an era. Russell Westbrook is one of the greatest players of all time. He is a historically great player. Put it this way. Is there anything Jason Kidd does better than Russell Westbrook? Maybe shooting threes. He doesn't do anything on the basketball court better than him. He doesn't score better. He doesn't rebound better. He doesn't assist better. What does he do better?
Listen, assist better. That could be debatable though, Mike. I don't know.
Okay, maybe Jason Kidd's passes look better.
Court vision, I don't know. Court awareness, if you're looking at
the man averaged 3 triple doubles in a row.
Aside from, I'm not saying that, but again, we've always questioned. I'm not taking away anything from Russ, but we've questioned his decision making, his court awareness and decision making.
Yes. Is Jason Kidd a better, like Max said with the million qualifiers? If you have Dirk Nowitzki and all these other great people, and then you got Jason Kidd to just be a floor general, sure, he'd be better than Russell Westbrook. If you have Kenyon Martin, no, Jason Kidd was the best player on that team. You have Kenyon Martin, Richard Jefferson, Lucius Howard. If you have all these people, and then you just need Jason Kidd to be a floor general, sure, he's better than Russell Westbrook. But if you and I go to the park, and there's 2 guys standing there, and we like, dag, man, I want to win this game, and I got to start with someone. You're not picking Jason Kidd ever. Never, never, never. You're never picking him over Russell.
But why wouldn't you? Okay, so then if you assess them, and we've seen Russell Westbrook, and again, someone made in the comment, they said Jason Kidd's the better point guard, but Russell's the better player, right? So
it's still about the whole point guard thing. That's an excuse for players like Jason Kidd who couldn't dominate scoring. So we created a new category to say pure point guard. There's no such thing. All great point guards were great scorers. Every single one of them. Everyone that won an MVP other than Steve Nash was averaging 20 plus points. The first point guard to win MVP on your Celtics, Bob Cousy, averaged 20 and 8. Stop it. Ain't no pure point guard. Russell Westbrook's better than him in life. Not in life. I went too crazy. See, Carl, this was your fault.
My fault.
I wanted to leave it alone.
Listen, but just looking at Russell Westbrook on his own and Jason Kidd on his own. Jason Kidd being able to transform a very bad Nets team who was nowhere near anything to take them to two back-to-back finals. Look, hear me out here. You can't answer a question with a question. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Just hear me out here.
Martin. Does that matter?
Hear me out. It does matter. But hear me out.
He falls in the CP3 situation. Like, though they had good players too. You can't take those players off. You can't take Richard Jefferson was good. Keith Van Horn was good.
I'm not taking those players. I'm not taking those players off those team. What I'm saying to you is that the year before they got there, and again, and no disrespect to Stephon Marbury, the Nets were not in the playoffs picture before Jason Kidd got there.
Yes,
and Jason Kidd got robbed of an MVP, and we could go back to that MVP.
Yes,
He was robbed of an MVP.
I agree with you. That does not make him better than Russell Westbrook.
That does not.
Stop. Come on, stop. Like, stop it, man. Stop it.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I can't.
I think it's a personal. I think it's a personal affinity for Jason Kidd, and
it's not a personal affinity for Jason Kidd. It's not a personal affinity for Jason Kidd.
That plus, we really just don't like the way Russell Westbrook plays. I'm telling you, Russell Westbrook epitomizes who we are in our rebellious spirits, but he also is the.
I wish I could get Ray Jarvis in here. Ray Jarvis could pull up because I know Ray Jarvis has a lot to say on this topic. Let me see if I can get him here to talk about.
What area is he on? Who is he with?
He's not on the Russell Westbrook area. I'll tell you that right now. I know that for a fact. He just said once again we're conflating better with greater. That's his problem. That's what he just said.
No. That's a great comment. That's a great point. That's a great point. You see, better and greater are two different conversations. We want to talk about that. We could talk about that. Yeah, that's a fact.
I'm gonna see if I can try to get him to basically pull up. But again, talking about making teams better though, right? Does Westbrook fall in that? Okay. Does he fall in that category of making teammates better, making team better?
Listen, hold on. Wait. It's funny, and I'm not a Westbrook fan, which is crazy, but I hated the better comment because I always think when that young team made it to the finals, no one said Russell Westbrook didn't make his teammates better. Mm-hmm. I mean,
but he wasn't the first option that year, though. Let's not do that.
Everybody knew he was the leader.
When?
Kevin Durant was the best player.
Leader, he's just the best player. Everybody knew that Russell Westbrook was the leader of the team. Everybody knew.
When? What year?
When they went to.
When went to finals?
No. Russell Westbrook was the vocal leader on that. Everybody knows that.
Now you're specifying it. No, we do Kevin Durant. No, you can't do that. No, don't do that. See, now you're specifying vocal or vocal. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Let me give you an example.
Don't do that.
Who was the leader on the Warriors with Kevin Durant?
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green was the leader of the team.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, what vocal?
See, again, we're specifying now. No, we're specifying.
Not just vocal. Listen, Draymond Green, Curry was the best player, and Kevin Durant was the best player, but Draymond Green was the leader. They went according to
Okay, so you're telling me in 2012
of the team.
So you're saying me in 2012 Russell Westbrook was the leader. That's what you're saying.
Yes, he was the leader.
Yeah.
He wasn't the best player, but he was the leader.
He was the leader. Everybody said that. What are you talking about? Everybody knew he was the leader. That's why KD left, because he took all those shots and because they said within the organization, Russell Westbrook had more control than KD. He was the leader. What are you talking about, Carl? This was well known. KD
so go ahead. Go ahead to your point. Go ahead to your point of saying that he was the leader.
My point was that there wasn't the point that he was the leader. My point was Russell Westbrook's negativity came after Durant went to the Warriors. That's when it really started. Because before then, people really didn't kill Westbrook. You know, they just said these guys are young. you know, he's gonna figure it out. And then when Kevin Durant, I said, oh, Kevin Durant left because he was taking too many shots. This guy's selfish. This guy's this guy's that. And that built the narrative that we all started to follow on Westbrook. But nobody talks about those first couple years to say that he was I never heard nobody say he was selfish before Kevin Durant left. Maybe just I didn't hear it. Maybe I wasn't.
Other than Skip Bayless, nobody was saying, "Oh man, nobody can win with him." No, we ain't hear that. They went to the finals. We ain't hear that. All of a sudden,
and now we're gonna judge him off of the Washington Wizards, a lackluster OKC team. Like, come on, let's be for real. Like, we can't judge him off of those type of teams.
Now, what about Houston?
So we're not judging him.
So we could judge him on Houston, Jordan.
Okay, so what you're saying is that we're just gonna judge him from when he started in OKC, and then we're not gonna judge him without Kevin Durant. We're not gonna judge him, you know, in Washington. So like, what are we picking and choosing when we judge him and when we don't?
In a narrative.
I mean, are you gonna judge? Do you judge Jason Kidd with? I never heard nobody talk about Jason Kidd with the Knicks.
Cool, we do absolutely. We do talk about him with the Knicks.
I talk about him. I don't hear a lot of people.
I do talk about him. How did he do? Say again, he did great with the Knicks. He's one of the primary reasons. He was the leader on that team to get them to the conference.
So Melo wasn't the leader?
Melo wasn't the leader? Melo wasn't there, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. No. Jason Kidd wasn't the reason why they got there. But Jason Kidd not a big factor why they got there.
Jason Kidd not the reason why they got there.
But Jason Kidd was not a factor of why they got there that year. He was not a factor?
So explain what Max said. Hold on, can we explain?
Oh my God. They did not say that Jason Kidd was not a factor of having all that veteran work for the Knicks.
Carl, he was a factor, but can we explain again?
Oh my Lord! He wasn't a big factor. That's a lie. Did he not retire the following year? Did he not retire the following year? He did retire the following. Wait, time out. Did he retire the following year?
Yeah, he did retire, didn't he?
And where did the Knicks do after that following year? With almost the same team.
That wasn't
okay, but fair point. He wasn't the only player who left. But again, you still had your core in Melo. You still had Tyson Chandler. You still had your
Novak. My man Steve Novak was gone.
What Max said last week, though? What did Max say last week about when Chris Paul comes to Phoenix?
I just had someone tell me that Jason Kidd was the vocal leader, and you guys just told me that Russell Westbrook was the vocal leader. You're telling me the same thing.
He's not the leader, but you act like it's the same problem. It is what everybody made about the Suns. Yes, Chris Paul comes and matters, but Devin Booker is still there. Melo was still there when Jason Kidd was washed and came there. In the same way, Jason Kidd was washed when he went to Dallas.
I don't know about that one. He
was washed in Dallas. He was washed.
He was one of the primary. Listen, they had no other superstars on that team, and Jason Kidd and the rest of the other role players helped excel that team with the same thing with the Knicks. Jason Kidd was that vocal leader on that team, on that Knicks team in 13. We knew that. He was one of the primary reasons he was there.
Mario Chalmers with the Heat. Chill out. No, I'm joking.
Okay. So
I'm joking.
Ray Jarvis.
Chauncey Billups was the vocal leader for the Denver Nuggets when they made their one Western Conference Finals with Melo. Yes, that happens. Melo needs a point guard to be a vocal leader. Jason Kidd served that purpose. But in the conversation of who's better or greater or good, that don't make him better than Russell Westbrook. And the point Mac was making was the narrative only came after he helped lead a team to the finals, or he was the leader. So then technically, doesn't that mean he led a team to the finals?
Ray Jarvis, we called you to the congregation. We called you to this conversation. Sorry to interrupt.
Came in right on time for that.
They called you to come in here. What are your thoughts? Because the question was posed, who was better all time between Russell Westbrook and Jason Kidd? And I know Mike didn't even want to have the conversation, but here we are 20 minutes later.
Because of you. Because of you.
I understand the argument that Mike made about the playground discussion and who would you pick and whatever the case may be. But it seems as though the further we get into this analytics era of NBA basketball, NBA consumption, we are ignoring the functionality of the basketball team and what said player brings. If it's not being able to see it on a calculator, we're not trying to talk hoops. What Jason Kidd did for the New Jersey Nets almost 20 years ago was unheard of. They made one trade. They were 26 and 56 the year before Jason Kidd and doubled their win total. Why? Because of the functionality of the point guard on that team.
Thank you.
When you don't have a score-first point guard who's more of a wing than a point guard, it changes the roles of the players around you. We don't talk about that enough. We get so caught up in stats and athleticism and how good it looks that we never talk about the function. The reason why some people might feel like Jason Kidd could be better and greater than Russell Westbrook is because he performed the function of the point guard position better than Russell Westbrook. Yes, Russell Westbrook compiled a lot of stats, but his first triple-double year, the biggest argument I had against him was the fact that while he had the NBA all-time record of usage percentage, he didn't have the efficiency to match the usage. This is why I picked James Harden that year in particular to be MVP, because while James Harden was second in usage, his efficiency rate was much higher because he performed his function on the basketball floor better. If you have a player who's going to dominate the ball, he's going to score, he's going to get assists, he's going to get rebounds, and which means he's going to dominate the action. You have to do it at a high clip for it to count. This is why, as much as I joke about LeBron and I piss off LeBron fans, LeBron dominates the ball and he does it at such a high clip that you can't tell him anything. Russell Westbrook is like bizarro LeBron. He dominates the ball, but he's not efficient. You can't plug Russell Westbrook in any situation and say that this team is going to be better automatically. I can make that argument about J. Kidd, though, because you can put that function on any NBA basketball team, and they're inherently better.
And we've seen it 3 times.
You look at what Dallas became
twice.
Once he made his way back to Dallas, he might not have been the superstar.
Yeah.
He might not have been a superstar, but his functionality made them inherently better. The New York Knicks were inherently better. The reason why they were able to absorb losing Chauncey was because J. Kidd was there to provide that function. We can't keep talking about stats if we're not going to talk about the function. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, we're gonna
point guard. You hear point guard?
Exactly. So we can't use it when it's convenient, because if we're gonna talk about function, I'm not talking to just you. I'm talking to this is the whole conversation on Russell Westbrook. When they go to the championship and he's young, we don't say he functioned as a good point guard that year. Nobody talks about that.
But coach, don't do that, coach, because when the game was on the line and the game mattered, Russ wasn't your point guard. That was Harden. They put the ball in Harden's hands to finish games as the point guard. We all saw that.
Hold on. So wait, hold on. So we're gonna we're gonna nitpick that much. We're gonna nitpick that much.
We're not nitpicking. We talking about what happened.
No, that's nitpicking, because I will actually, Harden had the ball in his hand, but Russ ran the team for say 75% of the game. Yes, Harden had it at the end. He was a closer. He's Mariano, but that don't take away from the starting pitch.
But doesn't that speak to who the coach trusts to make the proper decisions to win games?
No, that speaks who the coach trusts, but it doesn't take away from Russell Westbrook's importance on the team. It's a team game. I get what you're saying. I give you all that credit. Harden was the closer. Russell Westbrook was the opener. They trusted Harden to close because he had better decision making. But Russ still was a very impactful person on that team. And I feel like all the negativity came after. So like no one talked about Russ was successful with a young team, with Harden and with Durant. They don't say that. They just go, oh, he's chasing triple doubles. Oh, we don't care what numbers he gets. Fair. I feel like we're not fair with it. I'm not. But
part of that discussion was the anti-KD movement. That's why a lot of people hopped on the Westbrook train. We got to talk about that.
True.
Because a lot of people were never really fans of Westbrook like that. They liked him, but they loved KD until he went to Golden State.
Yeah, they wanted to hate on KD. So I feel like you're right. It's two bases, not us, because I think most people in this group right now who are talking, we're kind of down the middle. But it became two bases of the we hate KD, so we're gonna ride for Russ because we hate KD, and then it was the people who were like, well, we don't think Russ is that good because he hindered KD. Look what he's doing with Stephen Curry.
Right.
So Russ is great. I know Russ is great, but I've always took issue with how he performed the function, because I felt as though as much as he does good things, when you really need him, what he does best, in fact, gets in his own way. So it's always been hard for me to give him his due, because that same pull-up jumper that looks wetty in the second quarter is going to be a wasted possession in the fourth quarter. Where we need a point guard to run offense and get into some actions, he's taking an ill-advised shot, an ill-advised turnover, and you can't dominate the ball and shoot 42% from the field. You can't do these things and then tell me he's greater than a guy who you can put in any situation and talk chip talk. Unacceptable for me.
So you're taking Kidd?
Absolutely.
Mike, you've been quiet.
I've been listening.
Listening.
That's what you do.
Listen. I yell and I do too much already. I want to listen.
Okay, Jordan, you're going Westbrook.
Listening.
I'm going Westbrook.
Okay, Mike, what are your comments to what Ray said?
No, listen, these are what Ray is saying is in terms of Russell Westbrook's play, I've said the same thing. I said early on he should just be a 2-guard because I thought he would function better. Ray using that word function. I think he functions better that way. But I'm not going to knock what he's done. And looking at both of them, and all these team things are different. The way I look at how I would, like he said earlier, if I'm selecting a player, Jason Kidd to me reminds me of Rondo. Rondo serves a great purpose if I have all these other things around me. But if I just have Rondo, I'm not getting anything out of that. Even though he has that function as what you would want as a facilitator, I'm not going to get anything out of him. But Russell Westbrook, we've seen him in both circumstances. We've seen him with a bunch of talent on OKC. He led them to the finals. Led meaning he was the leader of the team. KD was the best player. But we've seen him in that function. And then we saw him, like James Harden, we saw him transition to, when he's the solo act, drag a horrible OKC team to the playoffs. So we've seen him in different roles operate differently. And then we watched him try to work in that Houston system that isn't fit for his game at all. We watched him try to function within that system. Didn't work out.
And he did.
He
did until the pandemic. He did until the pandemic.
He was a leading MVP. He was like in the MVP runnings with how he was playing because they realized, okay, we can build this team in some ways around him.
All of these things are facts, but at the same time, because his game doesn't have as many variables as you would like, we knew what the answers were going to be in the playoffs. They were going to play off of him and dare him to beat you. All of these things, a lot of us, we love stats. Well, not we. A lot of us love stats. But we're not talking about situations, right? Like, it's easy to get stats on a random Tuesday night in the NBA. A lot of times your favorite players get fat on the bottom half of the league and they compile their numbers. But when we get to the playoffs and you playing them real teams and we decide, like LA, Westbrook, your jump shot is kind of sorry. We're taking you out the whole series. This is what I'm talking about, greatness. You can't take J. Kidd out of J. Kidd with no jump shot. You still couldn't take him out of a series.
No, his jump shot
things we have to speak to.
But Ray, I remember an argument a couple years ago. Me, Carl, Ant, it was a behind the scenes. Ant was saying, Chris Paul. We was like, but who hit Chris Paul with a last second shot? And we all yelled, Russell Westbrook, because in the playoffs, we saw it happen against Chris Paul. We saw him hit a game winner. So I'm saying we've seen him do it in the playoffs. Big moments. We've seen him do it. It's that when he shifted to this new Russell Westbrook, where he's ball dominant, everything is about, trying to score, do everything, running through a brick wall. We've seen the failings of it. But I'm saying we've seen the dynamics of Russell Westbrook. And when I look at Jason Kidd to me has never been that caliber of player. Though he served a great function. Yes,
26 wins to 52 in the finals. Mike
has a, you know what?
You were there.
Mike has a personal vendetta. Listen, Mike, I think you have a personal vendetta against Jason Kidd. I think it's personal. I don't know why. Because anytime Jason Kidd come up, because I can never forget when you said that Mike Bibby was better than Jason Kidd. I will never forget that. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
Mike Bibby was better than Jason Kidd for like 2 weeks in 2002 in the Western Conference Finals. That was about
This is a 10-year-old discussion. No, this is about a 10 or 15-year-old discussion. Let me just break it down real quick. This is what happened. I am personally, Mike Bibby is a personal favorite of mine as a point guard, as a scorer. He is my personal favorite. That conversation was in the context of we was trying to throw Jason Kidd in the top 5 point guards of all time and all this other craziness. I said, wait a minute. Is he that much better than Mike Bibby? Now, of course, you can argue the leadership. You can argue all the things. Mike Bibby's a better scorer. Goodness. But anyways, you can argue all these things. This was in response to people saying Jason Kidd is a top 5 point guard. And we know that's
I'm calling you coach. But Mike, you confusing talent, what they can do on the floor skill-wise with what they accomplished.
No.
Like J. Kidd did more than
no, that's
he had 2 careers better than Mike Bibby.
No, of course his accomplishments are better than Mike. Remember the context. I said Mike Bibby's my personal favorite.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to die on the hill for Mike Bibby being better than Jason Kidd.
Right, but again,
conversation was, y'all not telling me Jason Kidd is a top 10 player all time.
Right, but again,
he is though.
Listen, Mike. Listen, Mike, you said this discussion was 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, before we were talking about the Russell Westbrook and all these other point guards, or 15 years ago, Jason Kidd was a top 5 point guard. Now, you could probably question it, but 10 years ago, he was at that time.
Of all time?
Yeah.
Of all time, yes! Never. We're changing the subject. I'm not talking to you no more. I'm going to suspend you. I'm not talking to you no more. I'm not talking to you no more.
You can't name 5 point guards better than Jason Kidd.
You could put Jason Kidd in that argument 10 years ago. Yes, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about 10 years ago. Yes.
You telling me I'll take Stephen Curry out?
10 years ago. 10 years ago, you said. 10 years ago.
Point guards better. Okay, would you like me to do it? Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson, Tiny Archibald.
No, not Archibald. No. Not Archibald.
Coach,
no.
Let's go, Coach. You quiet over there.
Stop it. Stop it, man. Stop it.
Take him out. Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Jerry West. Can I keep going? Should I keep going?
You're reaching now.
Jerry West is a shooting guard, bro.
He's a shooting guard. He's not a point guard. You're reaching now. No, he's not a point guard at all.
He is the point guard.
Bro, get him out of here. As a matter of fact, I'm about to eject myself from this game.
Yo, we gotta stop, man. No, we gotta stop this. No, man, we gotta stop.
This is what I'm saying. We just love Jason Kidd so much.
No,
it's crazy.
You're trying to change people's positions, bro. You're changing people's positions just to fit your narrative. You realize what you just did?
Yo, shout out to
Jordan
for
10 years
ago.
In
the NBA better
10 years. We're talking about 10 years ago. 10 years ago. We're talking 10 years ago.
10 years ago, there were 5 point guards better than Jason Kidd all time.
I'm sorry. I'm not taking that from you.
10 years ago?
No.
Of course not. You like Jason Kidd.
No. And you don't like him.
When did Jason Kidd become Reggie, bro? This is crazy.
He is. You taking it out of the form. My son is stop. No.
Carl, did you have Jason Kidd over Steve Nash? You had that?
Me?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Did I have Jason Kidd over Steve
Nash? Did we like in that top 5 10 years ago? Like I didn't hear.
Because we did it. We gonna check it.
No, because we didn't talk about that. I don't think Steve Nash was even.
I think that's a better conversation, man.
Not even close. Nash is in my personal 5.
And you know what? Mike may take Steve Nash. Knowing Mike, he'll probably take Steve Nash too.
I did. I
see?
made a list.
You see?
I did.
Verbatim.
And you know what's funny?
I know you too well. Mike.
We get so caught up in offense with these positions. Jason Kidd was a premier defender at the point guard position.
Yes, he was.
We're not even talking about that.
Did you hear what I said, Ray? Another personal favorite that I think was better than Jason from the same area, Gary Payton.
You see, again, you use that key word.
GP is not above Kidd, bro.
Personal favorite is clouding your judgment. Personal favorite is clouding your judgment, Mike.
I think Gary Payton is better than Jason Kidd.
But again, you just said personal favorite.
Greater than Jason Kidd.
No, but you just said the key word, Mike. You said personal favorite.
I love your point, greater. That's one of those. That's the most.
Even Zoom is trying to get Mike out of here.
Greatest player of all time.
He's crazy.
Yo, Zoom is trying to get you out of here, Mike. They breaking your chopping your words. You sound like
Mike, you're crazy
right now.
Mike, you're crazy, bro. You're crazy.
I love him. I understand. You like Jason Kidd.
And you don't. And you don't like him. You don't like him.
I know.
You see, thank you. See,
thank
you. You just admitted it. You just admitted you don't like him.
Just like that LaMarcus Aldridge and AD argument.
You just admitted you don't like him. You just said it. I don't like him.
Carl, you are the epitome of this culture. If I like one person over the other person, it doesn't mean I hate the other person.
But you're not even being objective.
You're not being objective. You're not at all, bro.
I thought he wasn't. Hold on, why? Because I don't think he's a top 5 point guard means I'm not objective. It's like the LeBron fans saying we don't think we're not objective because we think he's not number 1.
Mike, the man single-handedly transformed the team around. The team was 26 wins the year before, and they doubled it with Jason Kidd and went to back-to-back years. Come on, and he got robbed of an MVP. What are you talking about? Stop
Didn't they
it.
make the conference finals a couple other times too? Before
They
he left?
did. Yes, they
I
did.
agree. I agree with you. I believe he got robbed. I agree with you. I don't think Tim Duncan should have got the MVP. I agree with you. I do.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'll revisit it.
Please do.
Maybe I'm just being emotional. Let me go.
Please do.
Let me take some time back. Maybe I'll revisit it.
Philadelphia, Seventh-day Adventist Church,
I like
and
to
you
listen,
are letting
so-
them down.
Maybe I need to revisit it because maybe I'm bugging. Maybe I'm
You are bugging. You are. Final thoughts here, guys. We're approaching All-Star Weekend, a new format. I believe everything is in one day. Coach, what are your thoughts with the All-Star Weekend? Are you looking forward to it? It still has the same pizzazz as it has now. We have KD and LeBron picking teams. What are your thoughts with the All-Star Weekend as we approach it this weekend?
I'm gonna watch, but I have no expectations for it. Like, I'm just a basketball fan, so I will be watching, but I'm not. What do we watch? I mean, I don't know, man. I can't even say. It's just All-Star Weekend was when we grew up. It was an event. It was an event. It wasn't just a game. It was like we had our whole weekend planned behind it. We knew where we were gonna be for the dunk contest, for the 3-point contest, and the games. We knew where we were waiting for the games. This year just seems like they had to put it together. They had to rush it through. Guys still got games tonight, and then they got to go play, on a weekend. It's like an afterthought. But, will I enjoy it? I hope no one gets injured. That's the one thing I'm praying for, because I would hate for someone to get injured in an All-Star game of this level that really means nothing for a lot of people. They just have to do it because they're contractually obligated to attend it and be there.
Jordan, you're of the new era. Are you looking forward to the All-Star Weekend festivities?
To be honest with you, it's not as exciting because younger. I mean, the All-Star game meant so much more than it does now, but obviously we live in different times, a different era. I like what they did for the All-Star game last year with picking the teams and having those guys and setting up rules and everything and having these new rules that were set up during the All-Star game. I think that was helpful. But this new setup right now, I'm not a big fan of. I'm going to watch it, but I don't think I'm going to enjoy it.
Ray Jar, are you going to be watching the All-Star game, or is it something else you'll be changing the channel on?
I probably won't really tune into the All-Star game until sometime in the second half. The All-Star game hasn't truly moved me in a long time. I think the last All-Star game I truly front to back was Kobe's last All-Star game for obvious reasons. But for the most part, it's just like the players got too aware that it was an exhibition and they really started to loaf it. So it took away from the entertainment factor. And even with, with COVID still going on and the fact that we don't have the arena full of people and they're kind of truncating everything into, is it like one night, if I'm not mistaken?
One night,
it's gonna be all of these things. To me, this All-Star game is less of a exhibition and more of a TV product. It almost feels like it's going to be in a studio with a little studio audience because of COVID, social distancing and all of that. So it's going to be a cool TV product. I'll tap in the second half sometime to see what it looks like if they get serious like they did a year ago. Hopefully. But am I excited? No. I just want to get to the playoffs, to be honest.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
Same. I think, they just, like everybody said, I think they forced it in. They originally said they wasn't going to do it. But because of the money that they lost, this is a revenue grab. So they want to get that money back. And so I'm not excited about it. Of course, the only thing I am excited about I would say All-Star Weekend, but it's only one day. 3-point shooting contest. I need to see my man Steph get that win. That's what I'm excited about. And of course, Mac, tell Obi Toppin to make sure to deliver Cassius Stanley's dunk contest championship. Tell him deliver it to him. Because I'm waiting for my man Cassius Stanley to win the dunk contest. Pacers, we here, but other than that, the All-Star game will be, but it'll probably be.
Mike,
like
you ain't low.
It'll be.
You ain't low for that name change. I just peeped that.
Wow.
Come on, man. You ain't low.
I be allowing people to troll in here all the time. So one time I get to troll, you will let me. You be allowing.
If you're gonna do that, you might as well come back to the group, King. You might as well come back. So.
You be letting these people troll me all the time. So now I'm going to do it one time.
You get yourself trolled.
Listen, I still can't believe you, bro. Listen, I have a list of Mike Miller takes that I have archived.
Why do you have a list?
Because they're just outrageous. Yeah, I do love you though, but they're outrageous. Mikey bad takes.
You're my brother, and I love you. But I agree with Ray that All-Star game, again, they know already that they could not play until the last 2 minutes. they would at least play the whole fourth quarter. Now they just wait until the last 2 minutes to play if it's a close game. So we'll watch a couple alley-oops. I want to see Zion if he dunk on somebody, but other than that, see if Kyrie cross somebody up, something crazy. A lot of times it's just to see who they're going to draft. Who are KD and LeBron going to draft and put on teams and stuff like that.
It's a TV product. It's not really a game anymore.
Right. That's facts plus tax. It's a TV thing, man.
Are we all looking forward to the second half of the season, or are we just ready to get to the playoffs? Is it something? I know the schedule's pretty tough for some teams going into the second half.
I'm looking very much into the second half of the season because like everybody knows, Carl tried to force me. I'm not accepting it. I have Utah in the Western Conference Finals. So
I tried to force you. What I tried to force you to say? I didn't try to force you to say anything.
You tried to force me to pick them to win the championship, and I told you no. So don't try to force. So, but they went on this little 8-game stretch that I was looking forward to about 2 weeks ago. They smacked the Bucks. They beat the Heat twice. They beat they blew out the Lakers. Who else? They smacked the Hornets. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Bucks. Not the Bucks. I'm looking forward to seeing the Jazz and if they could keep up this win streak in the second half and see how much they're going to keep disrespecting Donovan Mitchell for MVP. Oh, and my Pacers, we need to get it together. We look shaky. We look dumb.
You lost to the Celtics and the Knicks. Don't think I'm going to let that slide either. You think I was not going to mention that?
Yo, see, we were supposed to get out of the show with that. We were supposed to get out with that.
No, of course not.
We were supposed to leave. We were supposed to talk about that.
Nah, never that. That's
a low blow. That was a low blow. That was personal.
Coach, second half of the season for your Knicks.
And
you don't want to talk about it, or you don't want to talk about it because I know you've been superstitious.
I'm not superstitious. I listen. We ahead of schedule. Like this year is a shock right now, but it's a testament to everything the league is. No fans, less travel. A young team like the Knicks can do better in a situation like this. You know, where we're ahead of schedule. The biggest thing I want to see is that Eastern race. You know, between all those teams trying to not make that play-in game is going to be interesting because nobody wants to end into the play-in game. The West, like Mike said, Donovan Mitchell, Lakers cruise control. I'll see you in the playoffs. I don't need to see nothing from you now. Clippers, I don't need to see anything from you now. There's certain teams that I'm just waiting for the playoffs for them. But the East is interesting. And for the Knicks, the biggest thing for the Knicks I want to see is how are we going to get players like, you know, Obi, he has to get better. Like he has to get a lot of reps in. He has to get better. And what are we going to do with Frank? Frank showed last night that he can play. You know, he showed that he has something to contribute. If you bring when D Rose comes back and Peyton comes back, what are we going to use him for? You know, I'm not saying that he's going to be a starter, but I'm saying he has value. And if you have value in the NBA, we need to get something back from you rather than you just being on the bench and doing nothing. So, you know, I'm interested to see what our front office does with that.
Jordan, second half of the season, you looking forward to it, or are you just going to continue tanking?
Continue.
Yo, it feels good. Wait, Jordan. I'm sorry, Jordan. I gotta cut you off. It feels good for the first time in like 7 years where that doesn't relate right now.
No.
To
But he said it like a But Carl said it like a legit question, though, with no laugh or no sarcasm. He said, "Oh, so are you
Jordan, it's all right, Jordan.
Gonna keep taking.
Listen, we might be there with you in 7 new games. It only takes 7 games for us to be.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes, yo. That's all it takes.
500 and the whole city just went crazy. Like it's like there's a whole second season left to go.
That goes to my point where I told people that the Nets can be the best team in the world. They could win the championship. But for the long time, the city still gets more excited for the Knicks. That's period. That's just how it's going to be. The Nets are winning all these games. You don't see their fans outside their arena going crazy and throwing shirts up.
Are you saying that loud enough for Jay Lex in the back? Because I know he hears you. Jay Lex got to hear you.
Listen, Jay Lex, listen, the Knicks, like, this is what me and Ray always agree, because I don't never say what the Knicks aren't. The Knicks ain't been nothing for years, and we know it. But this goes to the Ray's point, the delusional fans, they're crazy. And you see what happened. They got just to 500, and people out there talking about the championship. They were going nuts and going insane. But that's just the fruit of the city. And another point I'll tell you, if you read the news, just read the newspapers. There's 4 articles about the Knicks every day, and maybe one article about the Nets. This is the Knicks city, regardless of how good the Nets are. The Nets can be better than them for 4 or 5 straight years. It's going to take a generation, because it's generations of Knicks hurt and Knicks pain that's trying to get through it. And when the Nets need a lot more years, man.
So Jordan, for the second half of the season, what are you looking forward to?
Tank. Forward to the finals and the draft. That's about it.
Finals in the draft. Ray John, second half of the season. I think Max said it. The Lakers are coasting, so you're not worried at all. What's your thoughts for the second half of this tough season?
I got a couple of things that I'm gonna enjoy watching. I'm seeing the Golden State Warriors. They're starting to mesh. They're healthy. They won 3 straight a couple of days before they got smoked by the Lakers, and what you could say was a scheduled loss they played the night before. So I'm looking forward to Steph continuing to do Steph things and yet again proving me right. Yet again, he's in the MVP discussion, and it makes a lot of you sick, and I love to see it.
And we talking to you. We talking to you, Ant.
I'm not allowed to speak to Anthony until has the 40-game mark passed yet?
We're almost there. We're almost there.
I'm not allowed to talk to Ant until the 40-game mark, so I'm gonna stay true to my word. I'm also keeping an eye on the Brooklyn Nets. I want to see how when KD gets back, because now we're seeing as a synergy between Harden and Kyrie. Kyrie's behaving himself, but once KD comes back, will Harden take that step back into the facilitator role again and be comfortable with that? I'm not saying that he won't, but it's something to see because they still have to play more games to mesh because the playoffs are around the corner, So they need to play more games together. They can't be 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and maybe one here or there. We need all 3 on the floor. And last but not least, absolutely, I am waiting for the other shoe to drop on Bozo Nation because I was quiet. I'm remaining quiet. But what I saw outside the Garden the other day is exactly why I talk about Knicks fans the way I talk about them. Y'all don't know how to be successful. Y'all don't know how to relax yourself. Y'all don't even know how to be mid because that's what you are right now. You're a bag of mid, but you're celebrating like you won the championship, and you lot make me sick, and I'm coming for y'all in the second half. I behaved in the first half, but not Mac.
Hold on.
Mac and I understand.
No, me and you gotta choose. I want to hear this for the rest of the fans because I really want to what is the level that fans like what place constitute Knicks fans not being able to say championship, but just being able to say, you know what, we've turned the corner. What does that take from other teams? I want to hear this.
What I'm saying is I don't need to see y'all outside the Garden dapping each other up.
Oh, no, they wilding for that.
They wilding for that. But that's
wait, what were they doing?
They was going crazy in front of the Garden.
High five.
They had the flag. They had the flag.
It was going crazy in the Garden.
But okay. But let me say this though.
The logical Knicks fan.
But let me say this though. Why are you mad another team is excited for winning?
That'd be crazy.
How are we upset at another team because they're celebrating success and that they haven't seen in years?
Countless times. I've been around. I'm a New Yorker. I'm around these people. I know them personally. And the ridiculous things that have come out of their mouths for decades is something that has birthed a disdain for a fan base. Like when they traded for this guy or that guy, we talking about finals. This team didn't make the playoffs. You get Quentin Richardson. You talking about finals? You overpay my man from Seattle the big. We talking about finals.
Jerome.
Come on, son.
Jerome James.
I traded half the team for Melo, and I understand it was Melo, but we talking about finals. We didn't even play a game yet. We got the I'm coming home celebration. Y'all was talking about championships, beating the Heat. They didn't even play yet. So
but Ray, if you've been in this group long enough, we got some Lakers fans who was delusional too. They go crazy like too.
We know who they was. We know who they was.
Came in, they was talking about Anthony. I'm talking about you, Anthony.
Yeah.
That ball.
Oh yeah.
His name. That ball, and then we're gonna get that ball.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Anthony stays on brand because the championship happened, so he ended up being right when it was all said and done.
You can't do that, Ray. Stop that.
But listen, Ray, don't offend. But Ray, let me ask this.
Knicks fans delusional? How are we celebrating a team in the 90s who didn't win anything?
Okay, but Ray, isn't that part of being a fan that we are allowed? Like, I'm delusional. I pick the Celtics every year, right?
Carl, I'm being real PG on this show right now. Don't make me start cursing, Carl. Because you know it's levels, bro. You know that.
Yo, listen, he picked, since I've known him.
I do. I picked them every year, but aren't we allowed to have?
They only won one year.
Right, but aren't we allowed to be delusional just a little bit? Don't we get that window?
I am a delusional fan myself, but I know that there's levels. When the Lakers were sorry during the bus check era, I was not outside celebrating lottery picks, okay? I was hopeful. I stayed in my place when we were sorry. Unlike other guys, when we got to 500, I wasn't slapping hands. When we beat Golden State on Christmas with LeBron, I wasn't outside wilding. I took it in stride.
But some of your people were. You see, just like you said, you don't talk to me. Hold on, just like you said, you don't talk to me. See, Ray, here's the thing. You live in New York, and remember, I wanted to have this segment called, but we never had it. Right. When you live in New York and you see the delusional Knicks fans, it pisses you off more. But had you been living in LA, where your fan base is, you wouldn't see a lot of delusional Knicks fans. True. You would see the delusional Lakers fans. So that's why New York, we're the melting pot of obviously of America. When you see all these Knicks fans, and we got fans from different parts of the country because they come here, they hate the Knicks fans because they're like, you guys stink and you always loud when you stinking. But I'm like, yo, when the Lakers was bad, I knew a couple Lakers fans. They were screaming, going crazy when they got drafted. But we don't see as many of them because the real fans like you is little, and you guys know what you're talking about.
Listen, Mike's been delusional for years about his paces, and we let him say whatever he
wants. Mike don't go that crazy.
Paul, that's my point. It's only one
Who
Mike.
said that?
Who said Mike don't go that crazy?
Yo, look, I'll put it to you like this.
Mike don't be wilding.
No, yes he does. Yes he does. Roy Hibbert is a great center. Yo, Mike has had his bad days. Yo, listen, Mike is come on. Mike has said
he was a decoy, wasn't he?
Jermaine O'Neal deserves consideration possibly for Mount Rushmore. Come on, guys, let's go. Reggie Miller, come on, listen, I can make lists. I can make a list.
Yo, listen, this is a talent only you possess. To be able to ignore all the context and just say the highlights, you should work for TMZ, my friend. You are the shade room on this show. This is amazing. This is amazing.
And then Carl will be like, but you said it though. But you said it.
That's right, man. He is incredible. He did say it though. You are the shade room, sir.
Listen, all I'm saying is that, Ray, I see what you're saying, but fans should have a right to be delusional. Fans are like clearly it happens.
I'll give you an example.
Healthy level,
and I'll pack it up like this. I see a guy like Stephen A. Smith, Knicks fan, right? And he drags Cowboy fans. He talks bad about Cowboys fans, but he is the same exact way for the Knicks. So how can you hate Cowboys fans when you do the same thing for the Knickerbockers? Yeah. Like, I don't. That bugs me out. He's one of the worst Knicks fans I know.
But he's a like Carl. He's a media man. Media like Carl. All you guys,
I know that.
You passes for anything you guys do because
but he really feels that way, Coach. He don't like Cowboys fans, bro. He really feels that way. That's why he's so.
He don't like Cowboys fans because he's a Giants fan. See, it's not about him just hating the Cowboys.
He like the Steelers. I'm so lost. He likes all these teams.
He's a New York. He's a New York guy. So that's
right.
Wild,
and again, it's the same thing with the Yankee fans. People call Yankee fans delusional. People call Cowboys fans delusional. You know, we could sit here and make a list of.
If you cheer for a team that wins chips, you have every right to be delusional.
There's some truth to that. That's why I don't go crazy with the Laker fans. I don't go when me and Ant used to have. I don't go crazy. Certain fans you can't go crazy with if you don't got that hardware. Like me and the Knicks fans, we all know we go through this all the time. But there's a limit to how much I can do.
Hold on, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that next subject because then and this is a whole nother subject. Carl, I don't want to get into it. Not with you guys, but I have a real problem. See, you guys you love the game, you study the game, your fandom goes a little deeper. Carl, yes, you have a story, Ray. I never got into your story about why you like the Lakers or how you grew up on the Lakers, so I don't know your story. But for other people, I understand it. But I just say sometimes it'd have been so convenient if when I came in basketball, I just said in the 90s, I would have became a Bulls fan.
Right.
Like it would have been so convenient for me but in my era, it would have been like, okay, and say in 1998, 97, when I'm like old enough to really just choose a base, not based on my folks. And I say, you know what? I'm a Bulls fan and I'm gonna ride. We got 6 championships in our history, but I never saw a championship myself as a fan. That's the fans I get a little bit uptight about who live off the years of championships and never saw one. See, Carl, you got one, but me and you got this debate. When I said, Carl, you've been to the same amount of finals and championships as my Knicks have been since we started watching basketball. But you got to win one. We lost the 2 we went to. You went to 2 and you won 1. We lost 1 and 2. So how can you brag about your franchise being way better than my franchise?
I
because
still
of your
accept
history?
the one. Well, technically
No,
86.
No, that's
86. I was in the womb.
Point.
Listen, I claim 86 because I was in the womb. I was
Nah, you don't
Nah,
get
nah,
86.
nah, bro.
Good
Nah.
stuff.
Mac, I never considered that, bro.
So what that mean
is
that
phenomenal.
Jordan can't talk about the Rockets 2 chips in the 90s? He's disqualified?
Nah, Jordan. When was Jordan born?
Jordan was born in
not
like
old
97. He's born in 97.
No, he's not old enough. No.
Now he could
disqualified.
talk about it, Ray. He could talk about it, but
He
for
just
me,
can't
it's
go
like,
crazy.
you can't kill other franchises if you've never seen a
So
chip.
that means
that's powerful.
So that means you're killing
that's
Yankee
powerful.
fans who brag about 28. Then that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, because as a Yankee fan, I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't talk about the 70s that I didn't see. My Yankees fandom, when I talk about the chips, starts from the Derek Jeter era when I was in the Bronx and I grew up. That's the
96,
championships.
96.
That's the championships I was a part.
And you
point,
can talk. You saw a lot of them things.
Yeah,
I saw 6, bro. My fandom got me 6 championships. I'm
so
gonna
that's
talk
what
when
you
I
talk
see
about.
fit.
Yo,
I'm cool with that. I'm cool
it's
with
like
you
that with me and the Knicks. Yo, Mac, you know it's like that with us and the Knicks fan. We just had a stupid argument about the Knicks 2 years ago, Knicks and Pacers, and what we was me and Greg was arguing what? My Pacers won ABA championships. They won, Knicks won championships when none of these people was born. It's a phenomenal point. Why are we bragging about things none of us ever seen?
But we can't erase the history. Like I can't erase.
It's not about
Bill Russell and Larry Bird. I can't sit here like if we're comparing greats, like Celtic and Laker fans love to do this all the time, right? Chauncey and I love to do this all the time. When we're talking about great Celtic players and Laker players who had better players. I'm not going to sit there and ignore Bob Cousy. I'm not going to sit there and ignore Cedric Maxwell.
Carl, you know what's the equivalent to? To me, it's like you're a trust fund fan. You're a trust fund fan. You came into an organization that had a bunch of championships.
That's not me. I came into the Celtics because I love Paul Pierce. Listen.
You wear the shirts that say 26 rings. You make the comments
17.
17 rings. So you're a trust fund fan. There's a lot of trust fund fans.
I came into it because of Paul Pierce. I honestly saw Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker play.
So that's
and I was like, wow.
Right.
And I was like, this is amazing. And Paul Pierce was the reason to lead to my Celtic fandom. But I can't embrace the culture and the history of the team because
you just can't be too loud with it.
Once again, like Ray said, it's not always for me when he says Knicks games. This ain't for like you, the Rays, the Ants. It's not for. This is not one size fits all. This is to people who debate with me about how good their franchise was, and they start going back to like the 80s. In the 60s and the 70s. And I'm like, but you
means Ant can't do it because Ant didn't see Magic win anything. So Ant can't do it. He didn't see Magic in his prime winning 5 championships. Ray didn't see Magic.
No, I like the point. I like
again.
You're right. But look, out of our 17, I saw 6, bro.
You saw 6.
6.
So can you?
That's what I'm saying. Lakers fans.
I got a nice chunk of that.
You can talk. That's a good percentage. That's a good percentage.
For me watching basketball, like as a Knicks fan, like through, I would say 1990 was the first when Jordan won his first ring was the first ring that I could understand. That I have an actual memory of me sitting at the TV and watching the game, even though I was young. I can remember Jordan's first ring. So from Jordan's first ring to now, these are the franchises to me that can say something. The Bulls, because this is when I was a fan. Spurs, Lakers, Golden State, and
Miami.
No, Miami gets no
LeBron.
Miami got 3. You don't give them no.
I get Miami. My fault.
Miami got 3.
You're right. Because most of them are D-Wade
Miami.
Most of them are D-Wade.
Miami. Those 5 franchises, to me, can sit up at the top and look down and say, all you others, you guys got to relax. But to Celtics, you guys got 1. Detroit got 1. And it's also how many times you went. Detroit went once and got 1. Dallas.
They went twice. They went back to back.
I mean, twice. My fault. Twice. They went twice and they got 1.
Dallas got 1.
Celtics went twice and got 1. So, Carl, like literally from the 90s to now, me and you been to the same amount of championships.
Listen. We've had some unfortunate circumstances to that factor.
Knicks fans trying to force their way in the VIP, bro.
I know. No. We gotta go do that, Mac. Mac, you ain't low, Mac. No, Mac.
I'm not
Mac trying to.
I'm not saying VIP.
just
I didn't say we
card
VIP, right?
You just pulled your card, bro. You tried to make it easy for yourself. No, man. Nah, we're not gonna do that.
Yo, man, saw that velvet rope and was like, hold on, he don't belong in there. Let me over that velvet rope too.
You never heard me say the
Sir,
Knicks
pardon me,
should
sir.
be in
Pardon
the.
me.
I'm
Step
just
back.
saying the Celtics. I'm just saying the Celtics.
But we got one. Like, that's it.
Nah, I'm
you
with
just
Mac,
won.
man.
But Carl, you talk like you
Carl
got
can't
20.
get in there either.
What?
John, you get to be in there. If
I
Carl
got
in there,
one.
we can step in there too.
Listen, I got one. I got one out of two. I got one out of two. Why
Carl
can't I
VIP,
leave it?
but he not buying no bottles. He just getting a drink over somebody else's bottle. That's what's going on.
I'll take it. Listen, I got one out of two. And somebody went 0 for 2, and I'm supposed to say that's okay? You went 0 for 2. Mike went 0 for 1.
A lot of Celtics fans, they talk like they're like from when they've been watching, their franchise is better than the Heat. Or their franchise is better than the Warriors.
No, I never
like
said
you can't
that.
do that.
No, I never said
do
that.
Yeah, right. That's a fact.
That's the trust fund. That's the trust fund. The money was left over. Money was left over to you by your rich family, your rich uncle, and that's how you built your business. You got a small loan. You got a small loan from your father, $1 million.
Listen, shout out to Bill Russell, man. Shout out to Bill Russell, Larry Bird. That's what I can shout out to those dudes. Guys,
I mean, salute the legends, but just all Mac is saying is sometimes you got to calm down, Carl. That's what that means.
Why?
You got to calm down.
I'm a fan of a game has got me here. No, I'm not going to calm down. A fan of a game got me here. I'm not going to calm down. I don't have to calm down. Being a fan got me here, man. I'm going to continue.
How many parades you been to? You went to the Boston parade yet?
No, I haven't. I wish I did go in 08 though. I wanted to go in 08.
Coach mudslinging now, bro.
I wanted to go in 08. Listen, I wanted to go in 08. I haven't been to it. I've been to a jersey retirement. That's it.
Yo, I said the same thing to some of my Bucks fans. I got some friends who are actually Bucks fans. They've been Bucks fans since like the 90s. And I was doing the same thing to them, yo.
Listen, Mac, I like your point. Ray, come on, man. Ray, let us rock, baby.
Yo,
everybody don't get 6 chips, man.
Listen, I ain't saying nothing.
Listen,
I
Coach, we have a Pistons fan. We have a Pistons
fan
saying stop trying to take away
not
from
even
the
at
bad
the club,
boys.
Mike. I'm sorry.
Nah, the bad boys. Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
You at the NBA club.
Yeah, Coach. You have a Pistons fan,
bro.
Listen, you have a Pistons fan saying they deserve a seat at the table too. That's all I'm saying.
The Pistons, how old is this Pistons fan? Which one is
Nah, he's old enough. He's seen all three.
All right, so he's seen all three. That's what I'm saying.
You in.
I'm not talking about people in.
Shout out to Matt Williams.
The finals, baby.
Yeah, Matt, of course. Matt was there from the 80s, B. I'm cool with that. My point wasn't against. My point really was like, Carl, when me and you used to get into the debates, or me and my other friends, I'd be like, yo, you haven't, and this is before you won the chip, Carl, because we was in school before you guys won the chip. I used to be like, yo, bro, me and you, the Knicks been more successful since we've been basketball fans than the Celtics. At that point,
right? True. At that point,
at that point when we were in college,
absolutely.
So I used to be like, nah, how you just you gonna claim all those rings
Celtics
before you
had
even
like
knew
2
the game?
periods of being a laughingstock in the 90s.
You know why though, right? You know why though, right?
That's
There are mitigating factors as to why that happened. You know why?
Why?
There are 2 factors.
Let me know.
Len Bias and Reggie Lewis. Those were supposed to be the transcendent players to lead us to the next phase of our franchise.
For a decade, you don't know.
Those are the 2 players. Those are the 2 reasons. Len Bias and Reggie Lewis.
You trying to do another one of those adjacent ifs?
No, I didn't say ifs. I just said I just said there are mitigating circumstances. There were circumstances that led to our demise for 22 years.
Circumstances that if these players were here, things would have been different.
I didn't say if. I just said there were circumstances. Okay, for 22 years.
That's what you said. That's what you said.
That allowed us to have a drought.
He translated it for you.
It's okay because the Lakers had a drought for 12 years too, but we don't talk about that now, do we? Right? The Lakers had a drought for 12 years before they got
we had a title drought, but we weren't laughing stocks in the 90s.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this. Jordan, do you claim your 2 rings or no?
Do I claim them?
Yeah.
Okay, he's back.
He can't.
I mean, if a fan of a different team is like coming to me and they're like, oh yeah, but we've won this many rings and they didn't live through it, then I'll be like, well, yeah, the Rockets have won 2 rings too.
See, hold on, Cole. That's all I needed. See, this is what I'm about. What I just did was just made the playing field that you see what Jordan said. If another fan that didn't live it, that's all I'm saying, B.
Oh, so you saying 1973, baby? $60, 73, baby. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yo, listen. They know me. The Knicks fans know we've been doing this for years. I never bring up ABA championships. I don't care. But as soon as they say, well, we got championships, I'm like, well, hold on. If we're going to do that,
you can't celebrate a G League championship.
from all
G
the way
League.
win. Huh?
Drew League. You got a Drew League championship.
What is that?
He said
No,
he
but
can't
Carl,
celebrate
but
a G League
But
championship.
Carl, look how crazy that sounds. Look how crazy it sounds if I debated a Golden State fan and be like, yo, y'all only got one more ring than me. How
And
crazy
his
does that
was in
sound?
73.
Well, they got
That would
4
sound
though.
crazy.
Okay, 4 now. But yeah, imagine how crazy
That
that
would sound
sounds to
crazy.
me to
Yeah,
go to a
yeah,
Golden
yeah,
State
yeah.
fan and be like, yo, but y'all only got 2. Remember when y'all only got 2 more than the Knicks? What? What are
Yeah,
you talking about,
yeah.
Womack?
Because
What?
your
But
soul
how you
burns
sound?
from
Like,
all
yo,
them years of losing. Because
You
you
know
know
what?
you wasn't there.
That's called being a delusional fan. That's what it is. That's
Your
called being
memories of Charles
delusional.
Smith under the rim.
Chill. He
You
works
just
at the
listen,
college too now.
man.
Chill. I
You
can't even
can't
say
be
nothing
no-
about that.
You
Yo,
can't
I
be
ain't gonna
talking about
hold
them
on.
tips from the 70s.
Hold on, I'm gonna say this.
You
I'm gonna say this.
wasn't
He's
born
probably
in
not watching. Charles Smith. So he's helping St. Francis College, and he's a good person. But I wouldn't be lying. Is it the first time he came in the gym? I looked at him and I was just thinking in my mind, like, if you would have just made one leg up, just one of those layups.
I would have had game 7 at the crib against
Yo,
Jordan.
I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure he won't even answer any questions about that anymore,
Bro, I would never. I'm not.
Emotional, man. You don't want to.
I've been in so many meetings with him. I would never. One day when we go like to some golf outing or something, it's gonna come up. I'm just gonna say it. 'Cause I gotta say it. Like I can't hold it in. I'm gonna say, listen.
As a Knicks fan, it's
I
only right.
respect
You're a
you,
Knicks fan. You gotta say it.
but I'm gonna be like, yo, listen. I watched it. Maybe you got fouled, but just one would have changed my life, man.
Yo,
One of those layups would have changed
well,
my life.
ask him how it felt to like shave your head for the playoffs to not win the chip anyway. Ask him for me.
Come on, man. Come
I used to
on.
rock them Knicks boldies in the play. Remember that?
Going low,
Derek
man.
Harper.
That was a
Right,
movement
right.
because people in the
Confusing
city
Davis
had
had,
both. Listen,
They did,
this is
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying. The city. Listen, Ray, you say what you say. We all know the city feels different
Oh
when
yeah.
the Knicks are good.
Oh,
It
When the
just
Knicks are
and
good,
that-
the city, the
Y'all could be
city
decent
vibrates
in the city.
differently.
Oh my
The
goodness.
city, the
Like,
city
shit.
vibrates differently when the Knicks are good. But don't worry, because the Brooklyn Nets are here. It's
nah,
not a
nobody
sprint.
cares if they
It's
do
not
good.
a
Nobody
sprint.
cares.
It's a marathon. And when them chips
Yo.
start coming through Barclays,
Ray,
your energy will change.
It's gonna
Ray, they
take
could
like
win.
10 years.
Ray,
It's gonna take
they
a
could win.
transition.
Honestly, if they win 2 rings, right?
Mhm.
Say they win 2 rings, which is decent, which is feasible. 2 rings in 5 years. KD retires, Kyrie retires, Harden retires, and they got to go through a rebuild. Their fans are moving on. Their fans are moving on
Probably.
because they just came. See, that's the difference about the Knicks. They got it's lineage. It's a lineage. in
Right,
there.
but this also goes back to it. It's that
Yeah.
it's the legacy. It's the legacy of the Knicks will carry the city.
But
on.
it's all
The
about the
legacy.
kids, baby. These young
legacy.
kids right now, they see in
That's
Bozo
right.
Nation and they see in Barclays.
Bro,
and
nah.
they're gonna grow up.
There's no
with that
energy.
black and
When the
white.
Knicks
I'm
play-
already. But coach,
Nah,
you see it.
Ray.
You see the Nets gear. You see the Nets gear in the town.
Nah,
Son.
that's
You see
everything.
No, I
it.
see it in the town,
That's
in
everywhere.
Brooklyn. That's it. But when I go to the Bronx, I don't see the Nets in the Bronx.
Yo, listen, the Bronx
that's
is his
borough
own world. You know
politics.
that. You know that.
That's borough politics.
He know that.
But
He know
that's
that. He know that.
but Ray,
He know
that's
that.
my point, Ray, and that's the unfairness. And I don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
it. That's the unfairness of what I think is going to hurt a little Brooklyn taking over the city.
True.
See, Brooklyn is marketed as Brooklyn, when New
yeah.
York Knicks are marketed as the New York Knicks.
New York. That's
so
right.
Queens, Manhattan, even
That's
some
right.
Brooklyn who were Knicks fans before, and the Bronx are all
Not
going to
to
ride.
good point.
mention, not to
That's a
mention the
great
state.
point.
You're talking about Westchester.
Yeah.
All those areas.
Yeah,
New
that's a
York,
great
it's
point.
New York
That's a
Knicks
great point.
against
Yeah.
the Brooklyn Nets.
Our nation
They making it
is
regional.
full of front runners. Ain't nothing like a championship to bring on some newfound fans. And I'm here to tell you that the Barclays Center is open for all of you Knicks fans who are tired of being held hostage by James Dolan.
Nah, they don't
You're
want
getting
that.
tired of him dancing
It's
all
the
in the
Barclays
videos.
Center is beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
Ah.
Come to Barclays, okay? We here for you. We gonna take
Oh,
care
man.
of it. You see what we did? We see
Listen,
2 dark
listen.
periods.
they
You
don't
see
even
it.
listen, Ray. They go to the Barclays, they wouldn't even recognize Bed-Stuy anymore. It's different,
You
bro.
right.
It's not even.
You right.
Yeah,
That's a guy
it is.
conversation.
It ain't
Feeling ain't the
the
same
same
over there.
He
You
petty
know
again.
that.
Ah.
Feeling ain't the same over there.
Petty
Ah.
again.
That's Prospect Lefferts Garden, man. The feeling ain't
Yeah, they
Listen,
the
can't,
same.
listen.
yo, they're not gonna even afford the tickets
They're
anymore.
only
The
there for
tickets
3
is
Nah,
hours.
crazy.
They're not going to Fort Green Projects. They're only there for the game, all right? So come to Barclays Center, enjoy yourself, enjoy championship basketball in New York City, and go home and tell your Knicks friends how it felt to cheer for a winner, okay? That's all I'm saying. Coach,
We only
you
4
represent-
games.
Coach,
Listen, I'm
son.
season tickets, man. I'm season tickets over there. I love basketball. I'm season.
So you
I'm
know
in
what
the
it is
building.
already.
I'm
Is
in
it
the
easy
building.
transition for you?
I would never. I could never.
Nah.
See, that's what I'm talking about, right? It's diehards like me that my kids are going to be Knicks fans.
They're going to
Kids
pass
are
them
gonna
down.
be smarter than you.
Hey,
And they're
listen,
gonna cheer
coach.
for the Nets.
Hey, coach. I got a message from Jay. I got a message from Jay Lex. He said that if the Nets win the championship, they're taking BK and Queens. The Knicks will have
Nah,
the BX,
false.
and no one cares for Staten Island. That's what he said.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you something about Queens.
That ain't gonna
Queens,
happen.
let me tell you something. Queens validates for Mets fans. Mets fans validate with Knicks fans because they've been through the same drama. So
Yep.
you're not taking Queens. I'm telling you, it's a political and it's a structural reasoning to why I say the city's not being taken over. I never say it's because the Nets aren't a better organization. It's like the rules for voting. It's reason why certain districts always vote a certain way for decades. It's embedded
Listen,
in the system.
Championships
in the
are
system.
attractions. The Yankees were funny for a little bit in the late 80s and the early 90s. And as soon as Jeter came up, the Bronx
Nah.
once again became an attraction.
Right.
Beret. New York City was a
No.
Mets town for a little bit.
Beret. You are a
Nah.
Mets
A little
fan,
bit.
though, right? You are a Mets fan, right?
What's up?
Okay,
Yeah.
so Mike is
But that's
a
my
Mets
point,
fan,
Ray.
right? So then the Yankees won 5 championships over the course of our existence. You guys didn't jump ship to the Yankees. So why would it be the same thing for the Nets jumping?
Never.
Because the Yankees are the Yankees.
Never.
Nah.
Okay?
So now you're making exceptions?
What I'm saying is, I
Never
can't speak
do
for all the
that.
Met fans. You know what I'm saying? And the Mets were in a situation where they were ran poorly, like a James Dolan situation. The Mets have tried. They've just been sorry, okay? It's a whole different type of conversation. And we did have the 80s. They won in 86. From 86 to like 89, they had a strong team. The 90s, things fell apart, but they tried to spend money. They tried, and they failed, okay? Knicks fans have been treated poorly. They've been abused by their ownership group. Abused. The Knicks have the most expensive ticket in the city, in the league, for losers.
Listen, I still got my sweater, so stop. I still got my sweater.
Ray, that's the exact
I would never
reason.
switch. I still got my
fan
sweater.
base,
I would never
and
switch.
I feel like Knicks fans deserve better.
I would never switch.
Look how he treats Oakley. That's how he treats all the Knicks fans. Like he treated Oakley.
It's no history. Listen, I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen. Ray, you can want it. I don't even know why you want it to happen. You're a Lakers fan.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't even know why you want it to happen.
I don't think
it's not gonna happen.
Because he's from Brooklyn. He's
from Brooklyn.
Come on, son.
He's from Brooklyn.
I know. I want him to say it though.
You know that.
Can I get him to say it?
I'm saying, but my cards are always on the table. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't care for Bozo Nation. I love how annoyed they are that Brooklyn is lit. And I also feel like the logical Knicks fans need to smarten up, open the market up, and go to Flatbush. What's so hard about that?
Doing that, man. That's what it's about.
Ray, it's called being loyal, bro. It's called being loyal.
It's called being
Why are you being a loyalist to your abusers? Okay, he's abusing Knicks fans.
It's an abusive relationship. You got to get out.
Very. But Ray. See, Ray. If you take it right now, listen. The Nets. If you go with the Nets, there's gonna come a time where they're gonna stink. Seriously, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I'll still watch the Yes Network. You know.
You watch MSG too. We know what you watch.
No, I don't.
We know. Yes,
I don't.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you don't. You watch MSG. Stop it.
You see the remote? You see that imaginary remote?
Nah, you hear Walmart. You hear Jimmy.
Razzling and dazzling, switching edition.
Report,
oh my God. I watch it on
lose. I
MSG on mute.
As the runners happen.
You don't like Clyde, Mike? Don't disrespect Clyde's catchphrase. He's great.
His commentary.
Clyde is great. Clyde is great.
No, it's the worst
switching
thing ever.
edition. Razzling and dazzling.
Son.
Tenacious. Come on, man. We love
Yo,
the $10 words.
Yo, literally watch it. When I was back home, I would watch MSG on mute every time. Wow. I don't know. I don't listen to that. No.
So disrespectful.
No, that's trash.
Come on, man. Yo, don't disrespect Clyde like that. Don't disrespect Clyde like that.
No, Clyde is a legend. We're not going to take away from it. Legend as a commentator? No.
Come on.
Them ugly suits and them stupid
slashing and dashing. Come on, son.
All right, guys.
Allowing the audience.
We're the Irving Derbish of.
Come on.
That'll do it here for the Sports Hitlers. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, comment.
Y'all Harlem dudes, bro.
Check out the Gray Area.
Harlem dudes.
You guys soon. And you guys take care. Be well.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.